Hi there, and welcome to the Kingdom Sexuality podcast. We're Paris and Alana, friends who have a heart for intimacy and long to uncover God's truth and design for sexual freedom within marriage. Welcome here.
Welcome back to our Kingdom Sexuality podcast, you guys. We are tackling a really fun thing today. We actually decided that we were going to kind of post our first Q&A. You guys ask the questions and we answer them. Off the cuff, no script. You guys ready for this? We're actually setting a timer as we speak. So we are going to take the next 15 minutes to answer all the things. And the timer is set. Okay, Alana.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you the first question.
Oh, okay.
We got a lot of questions around oral sex. A lot. So we're going to actually take up a little bit of our time here in the next 15 minutes talking about this. But I'm going to run some of the specific questions around oral for you. So a lot of them was, what is your thoughts on oral sex? Is it biblical? Is it godly? Let's maybe take that one first.
Right. So, I mean, I feel like you kind of have done a bit more of the specific research into the Song of Solomon and, the things that they've talked about in there that can kind of draw lines to oral sex. So I don't know the specific verses. I feel like you do, you know them, all of those.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Right. But I mean, if I'm just to visit about it, I would say that, yes, oral sex is a biblical thing.
Yeah.
But also it has to be something that is consensual with both people.
That's very important.
So I think, both people involved need to feel comfortable. And I think it involves maybe some conversations beforehand. So maybe go back to listen to our conversations or our, not conversations, what's that called? Communications episode. But, just have those conversations about, okay, what is this going to look like? What do you like? What don't you like? And maybe you don't even know. It's let's just do some exploring.
It's your first time doing this.
Figure this out.
Right?
Yeah. So I think it can be a great thing, especially if we've got a couple questions that were around pregnant mamas as well and things like that. And where, I don't know, when actual intercourse isn't an option, this can be a great way to connect and for you to do something.
They'll have sexual intimacy. Yeah.
Yeah. To blow your husband's mind and then vice versa. Right. And he can just blow your mind. Yeah. So I think it's something that probably takes practice to get better at. I don't know. I feel like
I would agree on that. Yeah. It's like everything we've talked about too, Alana. One of the big myths that we've been busting and will continue to bust is that we are often programmed going into adulthood, marriage, and then exploring, our own sexuality within marriage, that everything's supposed to just work. We're just supposed to have the fireworks show every time, and it's not that way. Yeah. So when exploring oral sex, I think that's the first piece of advice I would give, is to give yourselves a lot of grace and to see it as something to practice and make an enjoyable experience to practice. Yeah. Not to put pressure on or to have expectations at all. Just throw those out of the window. And just be very open with communication. I love that you mentioned that, Alana, because communicating is huge, especially when you're implementing something new or something that one of you may be a little bit unsure of, or maybe it feels taboo to you. Maybe you're overcoming triggers and traumas. There's so much depth that can come with this. Yeah. So it's great to sit down and have the conversations first and foremost. Pray about it together. Just get very honest with each other. And know, too, that from a biblical perspective on oral sex, read the Song of Solomon. I encourage you guys to pick up resource guides and study that book, because it's very freeing sexually, extremely. And we know that Solomon and his wife definitely partaked in oral sex a lot, and it's very beautiful how they describe everything and relay everything and embrace everything. So it's a good thing to do that too when you guys have the opportunity to do that. But I think do you have anything else to add to that, Alana?
Well, something I would add is just how, often the questions are, I just find this, like, often from the women, we are getting these questions where it's like, I just have a really hard time with the hygiene of it, or, that aspect of it. So I would just, really encourage you guys. It's like, if that's something that you would like to do, go have a shower together first, right? Like, get everything super squeaky clean so that you don't have that weird lingering thought in the back of your mind, like, ugh,
for sure. Like, eliminate it.
How clean is it, right? Exactly. Just kibosh that. Go get hygiened up. And then I feel like because that's often one of the questions, like, oh, it's just hard to get over in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing too, that can be kind of fun if it's maybe something you haven't done yet, is like get a razor to those areas, like get it tidied up, get it clean. Hygiene isn't just washing. It's also making sure things are trim and tidy. If that's something you guys like, go for it. If it doesn't bother you, amazing. But that's something else that you can keep in the back of mind for a step further in just cleaning out all the things and all the areas, if that's something that you guys would find appealing. So that's another big thing too that a lot of people ask. Okay, amazing. We will be doing an actual episode or several all around oral sex, you guys. We're just going to say that right now because there's so many questions about it. Yeah. It's coming. So we're not going to get too much deeper into this, but those are great places to start. Okay, let's take on our next one. How to overcome fears during sex. So, anything to do with trying new things, overcoming stuff that maybe you had dealt with in your past as far as traumas go, or just maybe unexplained fears in general. Let's talk fears in sexuality.
This is a great question.
It is a great question.
Yeah. I think a part of what can help to get rid of some of the fears initially is like, I feel like if you just start praying over your sex life and you're like, asking God to release those fears so you can just feel, excitement and joy, right? And expectation, that could be a good place to start. Another thing is to just aim to have fun. Like, take off the pressure with like, it needs to be perfect. It needs to, I need to climax. He needs to, I don't know. Like, there's all these pressures we can put on ourselves that can add fear and almost like anxiety sometimes maybe. Or even like if someone's wanting to do something and someone's not. And so you kind of have that like fear in the back of your mind that they're going to ask to do the thing that you don't like to do. So, again, those are probably just things you need to talk about as a couple, and just share your fears with them too. I think that can be really good and healthy to just bring it all into the air. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Bears?
I echo everything you just said. That was really good.
Oh, cool.
That was very good. Again, it goes back to, like you said, communication is so huge. Prayer is so huge. Just being honest and vulnerable with each other and with God is so huge. And taking things with a lot of grace. Moving forward for sure. But to take the pressure off of all the things, right? Moving forward without pressure. Committing to growth, but through a lot of grace. I think that's very key. Okay. Another really good one too that I really liked is, how do you suggest we explore our bodies like you suggested in the Mythbusters episode? And this is a really good question that we could totally devote a lot of time to, honestly. Yeah. Probably could do a whole episode.
Oh, for sure we could.
But, in terms of exploring your body, like, a lot of people, specifically in the Christian circle, go into marriage and they're like very fear-mongered. Let's be very honest here. They're very fear-mongered about sex. It was always something dirty. Don't do it, yada, yada, yada. There's a whole stigma around that. within Christianity, which is very sad, and it's very, very evil, to be perfectly honest. This is exactly what Satan wants. He doesn't want us in freedom sexually, with our spouse, right? He wants us to live in fear. So it's a very good idea coming into marriage, or wherever you're even at now in your marriage, if you haven't had a conversation about what feels good or what doesn't with your spouse, and your spouse maybe doesn't even know what makes you tick. Maybe you don't even know what makes you tick. It's a very good thing to sit down and learn about your anatomy, for one. Learn about erogenous zones. Learn about your husbands. Learn about it together, and spend a lot of time going back to the basics. A lot of people don't even go to the basics. Like, a lot of that is skipped, and people just don't know. You take the media for truth, and you just think, oh yeah, as soon as we have sex, the fireworks are supposed to go off. Everything's amazing. So you have sex, and you're like, what's wrong with it? Like, right? Like, you're like, oh, what just happened? I don't even know. Nothing happened. Where's the magic button? There is no magic button, FYI. This is very much a journey where you guys grow together, in intimacy together, and just literally feel things out. You need to learn each other. You need to learn your own body. You need to give a lot of space and time to growth in that area. So as far as exploring your bodies together as husband and wife, that looks different for everybody, but don't miss those basics. That is huge. Another really good thing that you guys could do in terms of resources go into getting more education on this is Intended for Pleasure is an incredible book that covers that topic very, very well. And so we highly recommend looking into that as well.
Yeah. And then something too, like, I mean, I was in the same boat. Like, if this isn't something you've done, that was me. Like, I was just, I just assumed it would just,
absolutely,
the button would get pressed. The switch would flip, and right. So I was like, eventually it's just going to happen. It's just going to, but I was like, wait a second. This isn't something that, Jeff can fix, or I can, I had to, okay, wait, no, I need to learn my body. And so it made all the difference. So if it's something you're kind of, another thing like you're afraid of, if that's something that kind of, makes you feel nervous, I mean, I just really encourage you to just do it and relax. And I don't know. I think a lot of growth can come from like learning when you're in those uncomfortable,
very freeing.
Yeah. You're in those uncomfortable situations, but you are forcing yourself to learn. Cause it's like, if you do something and it's routine and you do this every time, you don't want to switch it up and try and right. Like try something new. So yeah, it can be tricky, but I would just really encourage you to do it.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Here's another really good one. How do you pull yourself out of a mental funk when your feelings have been very hurt by your loved one? So this is huge. First and foremost, you guys need to know we all go through this. Yeah. Hurts happen. It's part of life. And I'm going to say my biggest tip, because this is a huge topic as well. You guys are asking amazing questions. My biggest thing that helps me personally, so I'll just speak out of my own personal experience here, is when I have experienced tremendous hurt in the past, it's very hard for me to look past my own feelings, and I get inside of my own head really, really, really intensely, and I just put myself down this rabbit hole. And I think that's something to be very aware of, is how do you respond, and also know that you are the only one that has the control over how you respond to things, and if you're going to choose to move forward or stay where you are. And that's been huge for me. And then with that is really understanding what Christ's definition of forgiveness is. I feel like a lot of us as believers don't really understand the entire concept of forgiveness. And, even I hear all the time, people are like, oh, forgive and forget. And there's all these little slogans around forgiveness. And if you actually trace a lot of those back to the Bible, that's not how it is. And it's our honor and blessing and obligation out of obedience and love for Christ to forgive, because he forgave us, right? Like, who are we to withhold forgiveness? And so working through your understanding of forgiveness is very, very huge, but also giving yourself the grace and acceptance and being okay with just feeling all the things. I mean, if you're going to stuff all the feelings down from that hurt, that's equally not helpful for your healing, right? So getting things on the table with yourself, getting in communion with Christ on the entire situation, bring it before God, spending a lot of time in your Bible, like get to know what God put in the Bible for us about, whoop, there goes our timer.
Sorry. That was great.
Don't edit that out.
No,
this is the important part. We're being very, very open here because we have no script. That was 15 minutes, you guys. But yeah, I was saying, like, get things on the table, even looking into scriptures. What does the Bible actually say about forgiveness? Like, look how Jesus went about it. He was, I think, more wrong than anybody in entire history of the world, Right. And he still chose to forgive. So forgiveness is just a huge concept in that, and understanding the ins and outs of it is actually very, very freeing when it comes to dealing with deep hurts. Yeah, Lana, what do you have to say on that?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head and covered a lot of things. But I think it is, like you mentioned, it is something that needs to be addressed. I know we've had kind of questions before, when you aren't really emotionally connected, how to kind of get that emotional connection, because you kind of need that before you can get intimate. It's really difficult if you've had some kind of argument or disagreement, and then it's like, well, you want to go, and it's like, hold on a second, like,
nope, I'm still.
We got to work on something first, right? So,
yeah, it's true.
I don't know. I think there are things that you definitely got to sit down and chat through first, and write stuff down if you need to. Like I really formulate in my brain
dump it.
Yeah, yes. I think over things for like way too long. And then by the time I'm ready to bring them up, it's like been so long after it's happened. Yeah. So I don't know, preaching to myself here, but to just write it down and then have those conversations, and then it's all out there. And then, I don't know, that's when the healing can come in. Absolutely.
Yeah. Being very truthful and vulnerable, even with yourself, right? Not just the person who's wronged you, but also with yourself, with Christ. That whole trio right there. Yeah, right. That's a very good question. I like that. Okay, do we want to take one last little fun one? There's a little fun one that really caught my eye. And it's, what is your go-to mood music for an intimate night? And I love that. Mm-hmm. Alana and I actually were just conjoining and comparing our love-making playlists. So I'm going to share with you guys. Alana, do you have, what is your top two? Let's each share our top two for fun of it.
Okay.
Here's two that I love. Black by Dierks Bentley is really, really good. It's a very intimate song. And I am The Notebook. That movie, I'm a diehard over it. So, of course, I'll Be Seeing You by Billie Holiday is another one. Those are just so good. Those are classics. They're just really, really great in the bedroom.
Okay. So if I had to pick two, I'll pick probably Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a good one. And then Wicked Game by James Vincent McMorrow.
Okay, and that's one I haven't heard yet, so I'm excited to listen to that. And anything by Leon Bridges is really good. And John Legend.
Yeah.
Those are art for you guys to check out.
Yeah. So we'll put together a little thing and we can hopefully share it.
We will. Mm-hmm. We're going to share a very fun curated playlist for you guys. So that's very exciting. So stay tuned for that this week. And with that said, you guys, we definitely can get through all of the questions. There was a lot of incredible questions here. So that means we'll obviously have to do more of those.
Yeah. But this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's just like visiting.
It is. It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Chatting with each other and chatting to you guys. Very good. Yeah. So we'll see you guys in the future with more of these and answering more of your questions. It's just so fun getting to know you guys as a community. So this has been awesome.
Hey friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us as we dive deeper into meaningful, godly intimacy, tackle the hard questions, and embrace truth while we're at it. We're also on Instagram at Kingdom Sexuality. You'll find our Instagram handle below in the show notes, where you'll also see any other resource links we may have mentioned in today's episode. As always, our hearts are to cultivate deep community and freedom with you guys, and we cannot wait to continue this journey alongside you. We'll see you in the next episode.